Do you think gas fumes is inflammatory language?
Carol, I just won an award for challenging anti-Semitism. This Hungarian of training his dog to do a Nazi salute. You know what he did? They then prosecuted this Hungarian. They did exactly the same thing because they were offended that they were being compared to dogs. And so, actually, with comedy, it comes down to intention and interpretation. And what I'm suggesting... Context.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and I'm a long way going with it. If you were running a, I don't know, a French satirical magazine, would you knowingly put on cover a cartoon of Muhammad, knowing how it upsets Muslims?
So again, during that time, and actually 2 years before the Charlie Hebdo attacks, I posted a picture of the Prophet on Twitter. And said, I'm not offended, and that Muslims should grow up and all is fine. And then the Charlie Hebdo attacks happened, and I was very vocal about defending the magazine, and still remain vocal about it.
So it is all right to deliberately... I'm just asking, I'm not saying you're wrong, but it is all right to deliberately cause offence.
Because you've got every right to take offence, right? But at the end of the day, you've got no right to insist that I don't offend you. And the difference between inciting hatred is when you what's called targeted hate, when your speech is targeting specifically and inciting violence against the minority.
Lastly, then I will yield the floor. Someone once did some pretty foul gags about Katie Price, A.A. Jordan's son, who has various learning disabilities, but you won't get into, he's not getting into. I mean, really vile gags.
You know, the solution
are they permitted?
No, you see, permitted, what we're talking about is a criminal offence. I don't like those jokes. I don't like this joke. We're talking about sending a criminal conviction, sending somebody to jail. That's why I think we're mixing topics here.
You can morally gags about a disabled boy.
Legally you can do them. I will object to them. As I don't find this joke funny.
Are you now dancing on with a pin, aren't you?
What you're saying is what the ramifications should be.
We're talking about saying you're criminalising this joke, which is very different. Saying I don't like the joke. That's not dancing on a head of a pin. That's the same as actually that Carol raised the other time when I said, look, the difference between inciting anti-Muslim bigotry, you should be legally entitled to say what you want as long as you're not inciting violence, but be careful in outside the context of comedy that you're not inciting hate.
Can I say,
because it's not a joke.
Never done anything as inflammatory.
Majid, here's what the actual judge had to say on the issue and why he ruled the way he did. In my view, it is a reasonable conclusion that the video is grossly offensive. The description of the video as humorous is no magic wand. This court has taken the freedom of expression into consideration, but the right to freedom of expression also comes with responsibility. And I have to say, Majid, when you first raised the topic, I agreed with you, but I hadn't seen the video. And then when I saw the video, I thought at some point you have to draw the line.
Well,
and you know what? He's not going to do that again, is he?
Prison for offending us. Can we hear what the comedian had to say? And then Rachel, you can come in. Here's what the comedian himself had to say.
I'm not an anti-Semite, and I made this video to off my girlfriend. That is the literal reality of the situation, but if the court wants to completely reject that reality and substitute it with its own, well, unfortunately, that's not up to me.
Yeah, now, if I were to be lampooning ISIS, I would be imitating some of their language and some of their slang. But it's clear, especially if I, at the beginning of the video, say I'm now lampooning them, that I'm actually, it's a comedy sketch, whether you find it funny or
use hateful language anyway.
Of course you can.
I tried to write about this last week, and in the end, my newspaper decided not to run my piece because I was saying much what Majid said, which
not
is
as well.
Obviously not as well. This is a video that is still on YouTube, that has been viewed 3 million times. I don't think there have been any complaints from it. It's
no users complained.
No users have complained. It's a joke not against the Jews, but against the Nazis. Context is all when it comes to telling a joke, and we are
I'll do that.
now allowing our courts to decide what's funny or not, which essentially means the death of comedy. If this man goes to prison for essentially telling a joke, it's not just the death of comedy, it really means we need a First Amendment in this country. We need to have a law defending free speech. Otherwise, nobody will say anything because they can breach some. They can be accused of hate speech by a judge who doesn't get the joke. It's really serious.
Couple of things.
Nazis are dogs.
Couple of things here. You know, we need to be aware that we people from the British Jewish community who are watching now who feel very, very concerned. So we must offer them respect.
Oh, yeah.
And you're right, but
And
with the right to free speech comes the responsibility. And this old line, you can shout fire in a crowded cinema, but it's a pretty irresponsible thing to do. So we have the rights, but we have to be responsible how they're discharged. And I would argue that, I'm with June, I think that bloke went too far, much as
But
the one
he should
involving
go to prison.
No.
So I think
I'm sorry, he is being sentenced next month.
If you were in, if you were in,
He should be
if you were in a
fined.
film, if you were in a film and a comedy film, you shouted fire in a cinema, and then the comedy film showed the reaction. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about in real life shouting fire in the cinema where people get trampled.
You see, there was a very good example. I remember that a movie came out some years ago which said it was going to lampoon, I think, ISIS fighters or Muslim terrorists. All 3 lines.
Yeah.
And everybody went raving mad. In fact, I don't know if you've seen it, but
It's a brilliant
it's an absolute comedy about, thank the Lord, how often they are enabled. That is what comedy at its best.
Comedy, Nick.
Yeah,
then you have
where it
all
takes a
That comedy shouldn't be criminalised. I'm just going to say one last thing on this,
Yeah.
actually. It was, I said it was a Hungarian that did it to the Nazis. It was actually a Finnish man.
Oh, okay.
Who did it to the Nazis, just to clarify that. But look, that's
That's where comedy works.
And bad comedy
Doesn't
shouldn't be
matter if it's funny
criminalised.
or not.
Yes, that's the
Whether
bad
you
comedy.
find it funny isn't the point. It's about
Just
his
don't
right
laugh.
to say it.
Yes.
Nobody thinks he should be sent to prison.
Or get a
Of course
criminal
not.
record for a bad
No,
joke,
not
guys.
even a
Come
criminal
on.
record.
Guys,
Well,
you
you've got
guys
to
keep on saying this is comedy. You have defined this as comedy. Lots of Jewish people in the current climate will not think this is comedy.
We are talking of comedy. Now let's go comedy decades back. It was the 70s after all. But is Pandora a traitor to the Me Too movement or a breath of fresh air? That's next, after the break. moment, it looked as though another star was going to clamber aboard the #MeToo. Actress Pam Dorman starred opposite Robin Williams in the hit comedy show from the 70s, Mork and Mindy, and was interviewed for an upcoming biography of the comic who died in 2014. Her memories of working with Williams, quotes, "I was flashed, humped, bumped, grabbed," recalled 66-year-old Pam. And she added he would sometimes wrestle her to the ground and lie on top of her, or appear stark naked when they're about to start filming. None of which am I seeking to defend, and all of which is way beyond the normal biff and bat of workplace hijinks. Just as I feared Scotland Yard might try to get involved, knowing their love of pursuing cases involving celebrities long since departed, I noticed Dorber's closing comment, and I quote, "It was so much fun. It was the 70s after all. Judging events of decades ago by today's puritanically paralysed Moors is absurd. Let's move on. There's nothing to see here."
That was almost as good as my storm in a teacup. Well, as you know, I'm a strong supporter of both Me Too and Time's Up. But I do think, and actually Rachel, you and I have discussed this, what needs to happen is a much more nuanced debate. And at the moment, we're conflating slightly inappropriate behaviour with real sexual harassment and real sexual assault. In the same way that we know that there's a difference between a shoplifter and an armed robber, and the conversation we have about the two are completely different. So I think the good thing about what Pam has done is perhaps it will actually open up that nuance within this conversation and allow more women to express themselves and not feel victimised all the time. Because she's saying she wasn't a victim. She's saying that actually that was the culture at the time and she found it quite funny.
We opened the show with you quite rightly being labelled as being hysterical, Rachel. Has there been hysteria here, though? Again, not condoning recent acts, but we go back, as June rightly says. Has there been a degree of hysteria in #MeToo?
My point on Me Too is that if it's not, we're not going to be like leave and remain constantly at war. We've got to take #MenToo along with the Me Too movement. It cannot be oppositional. It's got to be united.
Yes.
But going to your Nanu Mork and Mindy case, which I think is hysterical and also refreshing. We've got
in what way refreshing?
Well, in the sense that it's a woman running. Choosing to be a victim.
Wishes that Robin Williams gave her that much attention.
Accepting that, male-female relations can be a bit of a rough and tumble. But however, it was the 70s. Virginia civil defence, and Carol and I are of the age where we're pretty robust when it comes to these things, and we absolutely refuse, to accept that we are victims. You have to allow things to happen. However, if Robin Williams had stripped off, he was a jolly hairy man. I don't think I would have gone through this next scene.
That he was also the Cosby defence, in defence of your point, and so we do need to be slightly careful.
No criminality here with
Indeed,
Mork
and that was my next point. That was going to be my next point. That actually
is
backing
my
up June.
point. Yeah.
Words out of my mouth. So in that, yes, the defence can sometimes fall apart. Cosby case and in the Jimmy Savile case, it clearly does fall apart because you can't just say that to 70s women, right? But actually, to June's point, we do have to differentiate between various types of assaults. I think that you're right, Drew. We have to be able to. But somebody tried that, didn't they? Matt Damon.
Well,
tried to differentiate past
right.
Let's
go to cases where we have got as much detail as we can work with. Carol, strangely quiet, but I sense all the people around. Yes, indeed. You're probably the closest to my thinking on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to cheer this woman because I think she pricked the moral pomposity of some of the Me Too times of the day. You know, I really resent this idea that women are reduced to a quivering mass of fear and nerves if a guy brushes your knee, or if he makes a lunge at you, or if he grabs your ass. The idea that we can't, most women can't. Oh no, seriously, but the thing, but we're not quivering, we're not weak, we're not these powerless in the face of unwanted. But most women aren't. They shouldn't
all right,
be.
I'll allow you.
Where they say every gesture they make, every touch they make. You know, can a guy, would you in an office now? Touch a woman's arm?
But maybe it's going to take that to get to. Yeah, exactly.
Dust might settle.
History normally says it just builds on itself, doesn't it?
Well, because you know why? Because if you put these rules down that are so impossible to adhere to, and are so unhuman, because human beings, whether a man or a woman, I will do this, right? You know, you see me around my guy friends, my arms around them all.
Lakeside, but he was fixing to leave.
What they call it horseplay.
Yeah.
So
Would you do it with a woman in the office now? Would you put
so
an arm around your shoulder?
calm down.
You're still going on those single men's weekends? Amsterdam all the time. Still going on those?
Yeah.
What is it all about?
Dust will settle.
Everybody, on this topic has expired. You're watching the Pledge on Sky News, and up next. I'm asking, have we lost the true meaning of Easter?
Yeah, there was 2 requests. Look at the call right now. Looks like the second person who requested was Anthony.
I'm Hannah Stott with the latest showbiz news. A warning, some crash photography is coming up. Former Game of Thrones star Tobias Menzies will star as Prince Philip in The Crown, Netflix has announced. The 44-year-old English actor will take over from Matt Smith for season 3 of the hit drama. He will star opposite Olivia Colman, currently Queen Elizabeth II in middle age. The role had previously been occupied by Claire Foy, who won a Golden Globe for her performance. And documentary The Island in the Wales examines the consequences of levels of mercury in seawater for residents of the remote group of islands. Filmed on the Faroe Islands, which lie between Iceland and Scotland, Scottish director Mike Day follows a local researcher who uncovers a correlation between mercury levels among his fellow citizens and increased rates of disorders such as Parkinson's disease.
I think we're only just coming to discover the consequences of a lot of the actions that we've had with polluting the natural world. In this study, some of these chemicals that are found have only been around for a handful of decades, and it's taken 30 years to show the effect of them. So we need to have a much more precautionary principle. When it comes to using these contaminants.
get down in the water between a knife and a whale. I'm a retired United States federal agent. We will stop the grin. We will interfere. We will not allow this to happen.
Residents have hunted and eaten pilot whales for 1,000 years, but mercury and other heavy chemicals in the sea have contaminated the meat. The island's chief medical officer have recommended that pilot whales no longer be considered fit for human consumption.
I was under the impression that Christmas came but once a year. So why? Pray are the nation's shopkeepers hawking us turkey for our Eastertide tables, panettone, stollen, decoration, trees, the sort of fare, in fact, you might find in a traditional German Christmas market. I don't dare switch on the TV in case there's a gloopy John Lewis advert to try to get us to give each other Easter presents, or an advert for eggs without saying Easter on them, or another repeat of the pledge. This is still a Christian country. The egg is a symbol of Christ's resurrection. Holy Week is the most important Christian celebration of the year. Of course, we all love a chalky egg, but don't let Easter too become a marketing, shopping and eating opportunity, just devoid of ritual and meaning. Only comes once a year. I have got some examples of Easter marketing for you. Here we have, that's got no mention of Easter on it. Okay. Who wants that one? No, I've got something special for you. Okay, I'm giving it to our Smarty fans. And this is a pink unicorn. I mean, does that say as it's a unicorn, I thought we should give it to Carol because she still believes in Brexit.
Brexit is going to happen, Rachel.
This is a egg that says... you want this for your kids. This says Easter in tiny writing.
I like my cream eggs.
But fine. For June. This is a proper Easter egg which has got a book explaining the Easter story and the meaning of Easter. It says called the real Easter egg, literally the most worthy thing you've ever seen. It's in a recyclable book. All of it.
Share this, Nick.
What a pity. What a pity. You can have the unicorn.
No, I'm good.
Because you want to.
Now, can we put our marketing opportunities away so we can talk about the meaning of Easter?
Rachel. Bar humbug, you sound like Ebenezer Scrooge in that introduction. Look, you know, Easter is still about religion. It's still about Christ and the resurrection. But it's also an opportunity for companies on the side to peddle a bit and make a bit of profit, especially if they've got stock left over from Christmas. What do they do with it? They're recycling trees and turkeys. Those turkeys are going to rot unless they sell them. I mean, look, it's no exaggeration. They've introduced turkeys for Easter. Have a look at this. This is, apparently, that's an Easter turkey. Doesn't look too much different from a Christmas turkey.
She did say that.
Yes. So, but you see, because that will go to waste otherwise, they're trying to sell it. And so let them. You know, no one's stopping you also celebrating.
Britain, and we've just got to buy up.
I am a Christian, as you know, and I'm a practicing one, but this country's becoming more and more secular, so Easter doesn't mean what it used to for the majority. No, not necessarily. I think it's something, it doesn't mean what it once did for a lot of people.
Why are we doing
I know
it
what I'm
It has
on.
no meaning.
Well, it's the time for families to come together.
It's the Anglo-Saxon goddess Oster, the goddess of fertility. I'm on the loss of her memory. That's what I'm on.
You know, you were talking about the commercialisation of it. The trouble is that commercialisation only happens with consent. And people have to start losing faith in Christianity before the manufacturers were allowed to rush in. And the problem isn't that Easter has been commercialised. It's what's important is that religion isn't putting out a strong enough message to draw people in, and that's thought that, you know, in the late 16th century, Baroque churches were built to attract people to come to the church. It was a commercialisation of the religion, if you like, and people had to come and they paid to be in it.
I have a solution to that, and it's a four-letter word, and it begins with F, and I will tell you the solution in just a moment. Oh, yes, it's... But, for many reasons. So who thought Brexit... It was the big debate. It's exit, isn't it? And this is what...
Blair would say exit.
And this is what Nestlé UK want to get across. In our confectionery archive, we have examples and records of thousands of Easter products from down the decades. Most of them don't refer to Easter explicitly on the packaging. Chocolate eggs have been synonymous with Easter and the Easter story since the beginning of the last century, so the association is an automatic. These products are clearly made and sold specifically for the Easter season. The wording on these products has changed very little over time. Good point you make that people don't go to church. I respect the fact you do. Do you know what I think is going out of church? And that's fear. The F letter, the F word is fear. Because I think in some instances the reason that I enjoy, and my late father was not a practicing Catholic, was a Catholic. I love the sense of fear in a Roman Catholic service, in that you have to do that, and that you, in a way that you might have been a sinner, and you have to be careful. And I think the way we went down a very dangerous and rather retrograde step when we had vicars playing guitars that's the word. Thank you. Happy clappy vicars playing guitars. I like a bit of fear that if you don't behave yourself, God will have his judgment. You'll all go to hell. And that's it, and that's my Easter message. We're all going to hell.
You know about being the beginning of Easter 12. It's about redemption and rebirth.
That's love.
But
that is not fear.
The point about being a Catholic, though, in the lead up to Easter, in my family, I'm sure in yours, it was 6 weeks of torture. It was Lent.
Yes, Lent,
and you had to go to church, and you had to do the fast.
And then you've got your chucky egg.
But you know what? You only ever got one off your mum and dad, and maybe one off your nan, and that was the end of it. There was no big. celebration, or the kneeling Stations of the Cross.
We used to dream of having it.
Last name is P as in Paul, A as in Adam, Lincoln, Lincoln.
Cadbury's do say they're very big on Easter, and they fit it into all their products during the season. What I will say is that what swung me against your debate is when I saw the Easter tree, because actually I thought it was like a Christmas tree, but they've actually designed a tree that very much looks like Easter.
Oh, that's lovely.
Because of the eggs. Now, you know, it's difficult to criticise that, because even though it's a tree, we associate trees with Christmas. That does look like
Yeah, it's not a recycled Christmas
But
tree.
you know, this also puts a lot of pressure on families, I think, as well. You know, Christmas is really expensive for a lot of families. You're just getting over that. And wham, it's Easter. Again, but it's not just the eggs, it's all of this nonsense that goes with it as well. So I think it's a massive pressure on families. People try to get the perfect Christmas, now they're trying to get the perfect Easter. And it won't happen.
And then, of course, we had the millennials jumping on board. We have the Easter avocado egg.
Oh,
yes.
Have we seen that? I think we've got
I did think that was... What's this?
Okay, I'm going to test for the panel. I know that this is shown over the Easter weekend as well, but what is today? What is the official name of today?
Oh, it's
Maundy Thursday. What's tomorrow?
Good Friday.
Good Friday. Okay, so we're on board the Easter bunny.
Well, you got any more?
but it's interesting. One poll said 43% of young people didn't believe in the resurrection. Which is very sad.
And what happened on Maundy Thursday?
He was Yes. And then
what happened on Good Friday?
He walked up the hill with a cross.
Yeah. And what does the cross mean? You know, all of this stuff is being lost. It's all just about the Christmas.
I don't know. No, but people know that story. Of course.
I wonder whether we're of a different generation.
But the crucifixion is a sign of belief in Christianity
it's not being lost because we're making chocolate.
Exactly.
It's being lost because of Carol's point.
Yeah.
Well, because of the failure of the church.
Yeah, it's not because companies whose responsibility it isn't.
Not all churches.
No,
The Catholic Church has grown because of the number of Eastern Europeans. You go to
but
parts
that's
of London.
immigration. But that's because of immigration. That's not because of the indigenous community. So what you're saying is right. That's not because of native British.
So we can leave
Matt, can I ask you, because you know what I was saying, society
spoken to him about 70 to 59-year-old female. It's possibly DOA. Adam 3
becoming more and more secular or not Christian. As a Muslim, what does Easter mean to you? And how do you celebrate
So
it?
one of the core tenets, so Muslims believe in Jesus as a prophet. One of the core tenets of Islam that it differs with Christianity is that they believe that Jesus wasn't crucified. God basically saved his people. And therefore the Easter story is kind of, it's not really in sync. But the return of the Messiah, we go back to that, right?
Okay.
So the bit that's missing is the Easter bit. Which is why perhaps I'm slightly indulgent with the chocolate, because it's like, for me, it is, you know, it's always been a secular thing.
Can you sign me off and then send me that call whenever I get signed back in? I'm going to try to get this.
We have to exit from this conversation because you know what it's like. It's the end of term. Everyone's a bit tetchy, wishing it was already the holidays and wondering why it's not sunny outside. Well, Commons Speaker John Bercow found a way to let off steam this week, lambasting Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson for daring to call his Labour counterpart Emily Thornberry by her married name.
Say no, says the noble and learned lady, the Baroness, whatever it is, I can't remember what it is. Nugent.
Yeah, okay, I didn't get it.
An extraordinary thing.
We do not address people by the type.
Not sure. Maybe train logging off, logging back in, made clear.
Vehicles of their spouses. The Shadow Foreign Secretary has a name, and it's not Lady something. We know what her name is, and it is inappropriate and frankly sexist to speak in those terms. And I'm not having it in this chamber.
Yes, love that guy.
Ugh.
Yes,
Burko,
yes.
for that confected rant, you win our squeaker of the week.
No,
it made me sick.
No way. No, why?
One at a time.
Being accused of bullying.
Gins up on.
I could. Completely agree with Speaker Burke.
Can I say
sexist and not funny.
Okay, we refer to his wife as Sally Burke. We refer to the Prime Minister as Mrs. May, which is a title held by her.
She was born. She was born Theresa Brazier.
Mrs. May has referred to her as Lady Nugie as well, and nobody said a word.
It's about self-identification, right? So my missus has kept her family name, and so for somebody to then call her by my name is the problem. If she had changed her name,
in a sentence.
He did it to curry favour with Labour because he thinks he's going to get ousted as Speaker. Simple as that.
There you go, John Burko, and that's it for this week and this season of The Pledge. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Happy Easter, and thanks for watching.
The Brotherton 4th Century.
Yeah, I'm 2-4.
Yeah, as long as he's there, y'all are with me, y'all can
10-4. If we had, probably have some medics come out here, but if we had an engine come out from the second floor balcony, they could probably get a ladder, we could get up there without damaging anything. down Coleman towards the dead end of the street.
This is Sky News at 9 o'clock, our top stories this evening. Aid agencies warn that the humanitarian situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo is at breaking point. Eddie Izzard calls on Labour to stamp out anti-Semitism as he joins the party's ruling body. The Pope uses his Easter message to urge an end to the carnage in Syria. Home again, Russian diplomats expelled by the US arrive back in Moscow. A century of protecting Britain's skies, the RAF turns 100. And in Sportsline at 9:30 tonight, Tottenham end a 28-year wait for a win away at Chelsea. Very good evening. A wave of violence is threatening to engulf the Democratic Republic of Congo amid increasingly strident calls for the President Joseph Kabila to step down. Aid agencies say the humanitarian situation in the former Belgian colony is reaching breaking point, with more than 13 million same as the number in Syria. Sky's Alex Crawford and her team, producer Nick Ludlam and cameraman Guy Siggers, travelled with UN peacekeepers into the heart of Ituri province, the scene of some of the country's worst unrest. We must warn you that there are images of decomposing bodies in this report, which you might find upsetting.
This is the red zone. Ituri province, and the evidence of war is all around. The UN peacekeepers go past burned out village after burned out village. Deserted by terrified people who fled for their lives. We joined a Uruguayan team who are investigating claims of a massacre in the village of Cafe. It's eerily quiet here, and the peacekeepers get to work, quickly fortifying their position. Their unit's been attacked in this area before, so they know the dangers. Many of Cafe's citizens left DRC altogether, sailing across Lake Albert to seek refuge in Uganda. The peacekeepers get a tip-off that some of those killed may have been buried in shallow graves on the beach. The putrid smell of decomposing flesh means it doesn't take long.
Here, there one.
The size of the corpse suggests the victim could have been a child.
There are other bodies. Yes, other more. Okay.
This is an area that has been the scene of a massacre, and these bodies keep
shift change for the ID unit, so we should have
turning
when
up
you were logging in.
sometime afterwards.
We find one after the other, scattered around, buried on the beach, in bushes. This one is under a tree. We find 4 remains and body parts in just under 15 minutes. Alongside the marked graves, the numbers being killed in multiple conflicts across this huge country seem to be far more than estimated. This is the world's largest UN mission in a huge country with challenging terrain. But despite the upsurge in violence here, the rules of engagement mean the peacekeepers can't intervene. But they work on the assumption their presence can reassure civilians and deter the operations of the militia. In Chumbu village, one of the residents takes us to see what the militia did to his home.
Oh, whoa. Okay. This has been absolutely trashed.
This violence has been blamed on ethnic fighting between the Hema and Lendu tribes. But in Chembu village, they were at pains to stress to us they live side by side.
He's Hema and I'm Lendu. We want peace. We came to the market together.
Yeah, previous events over here as we called it on my...
We both want to live in peace together, to go to the market together.
There are mounting suspicions this unrest is being politically orchestrated. Villagers told the UN contingent we're with when they were attacked, Congolese soldiers known as FARDC just stood and watched.
I suspect that the FARDC is afraid from Lendus.
Can you give me the event number, please?
For the assassinations between them.
Are we working together?
I try to confirm that. It's difficult.
We find the nearest Congolese army camp to the village. The FARDC has a poor image at home and abroad. Their commander-in-chief is deeply unpopular President Joseph Kabila, who's under pressure to step down after exceeding his mandate by 15 months. The peacekeepers know the soldiers the president has absolute power over are very much feared throughout the country. Unsurprisingly, the camp captain insists they are not the problem.
Non, eux, ils ont la confusion.
No, but there's confusion. We're the FARDC. This fighting's between ethnic groups, between friends, even brothers, but we're always neutral.
Whatever.
4150 for a man down. Now advising it's going to be behind the Star Flex, 5218, Silverberry, 520.
The truth, the violence affects the young most. A sick baby on the back of her sister captures our attention amongst a crowd of people who fled the fighting. 8-year-old Navita tells us she, her baby sister, and her 5-year-old brother have been surviving here on their own for 3 weeks. She doesn't know whether their parents are still alive. They've been begging for food from strangers ever since. The baby's now utterly dependent on a sister who's not yet reached double figures. We try to give them our army rations. But in a mass of hungry people, it causes near chaos. The pastor is nominated to take care of the food parcel, but everyone here, everyone is malnourished. And we wonder how much of it the 3 abandoned children will see.
Father 315 in the area.
Alex Crawford, Sky News, in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Eddie Izzard has called on Labour to stamp out the stain of anti-Semitism as he joins the party's ruling body. The comedian replaced is Jeremy Corbyn ally Christine Shawcroft on the National Executive Committee. She resigned after defending a council candidate accused of Holocaust denial. Our political correspondent Laura Bundock reports.
It is a week that's seen protest, apology and resignation. But Jeremy Corbyn is still struggling with accusations he's failing to tackle anti-Semitism. Many MPs worry he's been slow to respond, and they're demanding he takes action.
Leaders lead. He's not come out and said the right things. Now he's got to build on that by implementing actions that ensure that people who have Semitic views are no longer members of the Labour Party. There is no home in this party for people like that.
The latest headlines make uncomfortable reading. A leading Jewish Labour donor, Sir David Garrard, has quit the party, and an investigation by the Sunday Times claims some Jeremy Corbyn supporting Facebook pages have posted anti-Semitic, racist and abusive messages. Labour says the groups are not connected to the party, adding all complaints will be fully investigated. The row over anti-Semitism forced the resignation of Christine Shawcroft, one of Corbyn's closest allies. Her replacement on Labour's ruling body, the comedian Eddie Izzard, said, "This is a very important time for the Labour Party, and we must stamp out completely the stain of anti-Semitism from a minority of members. It has no place in our party. We must make amends and repair the damage with the Jewish community, as Jeremy Corbyn promised to do." But as last week's protests proved, many feel these promises don't go far enough.
A long-standing fighter of racism, Jeremy Corbyn has always denied he's anti-Semitic. But he admits the party could do better, and he's pledged to deal with Labour's 74 outstanding anti-Semitism cases as quickly as possible. He also wants to meet leading Jewish groups for their help in sorting out the issue.
But some say Jeremy Corbyn's political history is a barrier to the solution.
The problem is that Jeremy Corbyn admitted that there was anti-Semitism within pockets of the Labour Party. The problem is that he is at the centre of this pocket. It's his tradition, his politics, which has a ethic of saying that anyone who worries about anti-Semitism is just trying to smear the left or to silence the Palestinians.
Fiance at the location. She states she pulled a knife an hour ago on her. He's outside wearing pink shirt, light blue jeans.
Jeremy Corbyn's next steps are critical if he's to change the course of the party and prove he's confronting anti-Semitism head-on. Laura Bundock, Sky News.
Well, we'll take a look at tomorrow's newspapers for the first time this evening at 10:30 in our press preview with Kate Andrews, news editor of the Institute of Economic Affairs, and HuffPost UK's deputy political editor, Owen Let's stay with us for that tonight. Now, the Queen arrived on her own for the traditional Easter service at St George's Chapel in Windsor today. Despite the Duke of Edinburgh's absence, a number of other royals gathered outside to welcome the Queen to the chapel, which will of course be the venue for Prince Harry's wedding to Meghan Markle next month. Bride and groom also absent from today's service. Meanwhile, Pope Francis has urged an end to the carnage in Syria in his Easter message and called for reconciliation in the Middle East. The Archbishop of Canterbury also made an appeal for peace around the world.
Today we implore fruits of peace upon the entire world, beginning with the beloved and long-suffering land of Syria, whose people are worn down by an apparently endless war, for Yemen, and for the entire Middle East. We pray that dialogue and mutual respect may prevail over division and violence.
Jesus Christ, God's chosen one and anointed one, is risen from the dead. It's a global message. It applies to those where I have been all week on the Isle of Thanet. It applies to the harried refugees of South Sudan, the persecuted and pressurized Christians of the Middle East, whether from terrorism or state interference.
Update location to 501 Nile Drive.
Standing alone in the Indian Ocean for centuries, the Cocos Keeling Islands remain almost entirely untouched by the outside world. But things are changing. There's a problem in paradise.
Depressing. It's really depressing.
It's basically
a male at the location. He was invited over, but is now refusing to leave.
Everywhere. He just keeps coming.
We can clean the beach. One day it's back again. And it's not from the waste that we've produced.
This tiny Australian territory is on the receiving end of a global tide of plastic pollution. Of a few hundred dealing with the washed up waste produced by millions, thousands of miles away. And according to the latest scientific research, the plastic problem could be far bigger than previous thought.
An hour and a half until CID gets out here, and I can try to clear somebody.
What you see is only the tip of the iceberg.
This is the next climate change, and nobody's thinking that it's going to be as bad as it is.
It's the last place you would associate with pollution. Crystal clear water.
It's because of the 3 different agencies that responded, but they're the same call.
Okay, thank you.